Welcome everybody. I'm Philippa Hart from Hart Training and Recruitment. As you can tell, we are a recruitment agency and a training company, and I actually set up 19 years ago this time next week. I know I don't look old enough, but there we go. So my background very much in HR, and then previously to that, sorry, there wasn't a world previous to that. My previous world was HR before I came into recruitment. But we've always specialised in marketing recruitment, but we're renowned for accountancy and HR recruitment as well. But I set up the training division back in 2008 in the last recession. And what we ended up doing this year is shifting a lot of the training online. So some of you have been to our other masterclasses that we have been running with regard to leadership and performance management, and we're also doing an accountancy one in November. But it's great to partner up with Laura and Chris from Jelly Bean, and Laura will be leading you through a great presentation today. It is recorded. We've recorded it because we've got a number of people who can't attend today, but also so that after the session, once it's been edited, we can send you the video and the slides, so you've got some notes that you can be looking at as well. By all means, any questions that you've got through the presentation, pop in the chat group and I'll manage that and be able to ask Laura the questions. But before Laura starts, I just wanted Leanne to introduce herself. Leanne?
Hi everyone, I'm Leanne Pallett and I work for Hart Training and Recruitment, and I specialise within the marketing division. I know I've already spoken to the majority of you, but I have specialised within the retail and marketing recruitment industry for over 8 years. So welcome to everybody and thank you for joining.
Thanks, Leanne. And Chris?
Hi, I will keep my intro probably shorter than that. I've been at Jelly Bean for about a year. Specialise in SEO and digital marketing generally. Before digital marketing, which was probably about 6-7 years ago, I had a rather boring existence within businesses that were a little bit more manual and a little bit more gritty in manufacturing and lots of boring elements, but I support in business and client strategy.
Great, thank you, Chris. And Laura, I will pass over you to present yourself and the great presentation we've got.
Thank you. Hi guys, how's everybody? So I'm Laura and I own Jelly Bean. We've been going for probably 18 months now to 2-year mark. I'm sure as many people have imagined, setting up and being a fairly new business during COVID has not been fun, but we've worked through it really well and we have a wonderful team behind us. Obviously Chris is on our team, and then we have a fantastic team of about 6 people who are based in the UK and support on SEO, PPC, PR and everything in between from digital marketing. I'm just gonna ping my screen to share for you, and today as the first masterclass, we really just wanted to go through Google Analytics and how we can keep making the most of our data within analytics. It's very easy to get set up, and I'm sure most of you on here have got analytics set up, and I'm sure most of you use it day to day, but there's some holes and some gaps within analytics and within our data. So this is going to show you how you can fill some of those, how you can get more out of the initial data that's there for you, and a few little hints and tips that you can do so that you don't need to keep adding secondary filters and segments and other fancy elements on whenever you access your data. You can have that all at your fingertips, and it's going to save you a lot of time in the future when you're reporting to the board and to superiors. So there you go. So what we're going to cover is we're going to start off by talking about tagging up URLs, which is just a really nice way to make sure that our data is coming through correctly. We're going to run through goal tracking, event tracking and e-commerce. We're going to hit on the multi-channel reporting section for if you are using e-commerce on your site. Segmentation within analytics so that you can really easily just find and manipulate your data around a certain filter that we'll set up, and then using custom reports. And this will touch slightly on building the reports and dashboards in analytics, and just tell you a little bit about Data Studio as well, for if you want something a little more advanced. So tagging your URLs. One of the great things about analytics is that your organic traffic comes through under Google and it highlights as organic. Your direct traffic will always show as none. You can have your Google Ads traffic tagged up to come through, the same with your Bing traffic, and any referral traffic that you get from other websites comes through. But if you're running campaigns on Facebook, so if you're running any Facebook ads, if you're running LinkedIn advertising, if you have a Google My Business profile, and many other campaigns that you may run, these don't automatically come through in Google Analytics as that source or medium. So Google My Business is a prime example of this. This is an example of us actually having it tagged up. If you don't tag up your Google My Business URL, it just comes through under organic traffic or under Google. So you're not actually seeing the reality of how many people are coming through to the site from Google My Business or say a Facebook ad campaign, and you're not seeing how they're interacting. So in tagging up your URLs, you just get that additional level of data to know how this channel is working for you, which is particularly important if it's a channel that you're paying for, such as any of your advertising channels. So auto tagging, some platforms already do this. So Google Ads, you can turn on auto tagging under the account settings, and then just make sure auto tagging is hit to yes. And then your Google Ads will automatically tag so that they show correctly within Google Analytics and attribute to Google Ads. You can also do this with Buffer and Hootsuite and MailChimp. So you don't need to worry about creating a tagging URL every single time you use any of those. Once you set it up, it's done for you. But for those campaigns and filters such as Google My Business, you want to set up a UTM tracking URL is what it's called. And within that, you specify what the campaign source is, which is usually the platform or the website. So it could be Facebook in this example. You then choose the name for the campaign medium. So what is it? Is it an ad? Is it an email? Is it a profile listing? And then the campaign name is pretty much what it says, in that, say you're running ad campaigns on Facebook. If it's a Black Friday campaign, you tag up campaign name as Black Friday. And what this will do then is you then have a parameter to add to the end of your landing page that you want to direct the traffic to. And then whenever you look in Google Analytics, this will then show under a source of Facebook, a medium of ad, and a campaign of Black Friday. So you'll be able to look deeper into the data to manipulate it and understand exactly what's that brought, how much revenue did that ad bring to you, how much traffic did it bring to you, what was the bounce rate. And for ease, because I don't really like writing code, and I don't think anybody does, if you hit this link, which we'll obviously send it over afterwards, there's a page on Google Analytics DevTools website where you can actually just pop in exactly what you want in each field. So what's the landing page, campaign source, medium, and name, and it will provide you with the URL that you need to use within that campaign, and you can just copy it. So you don't need to worry about knowing, UTM underscore source, etc. This will provide it for you. And all this means is that when we look at everything, we know exactly what we're spending our money on. One recommendation I do have, though, is to make sure that you keep your tagging consistent. So if you're running multiple Facebook campaigns, make sure that they're all under the source of Facebook. Even down to capitalization, you need to keep that the same, so that when you do look in analytics and do any comparisons, it all comes under the same source and the same medium for anything to do with a Facebook ad, for instance. So just bear that in mind, so that your data, you don't have to try and piece things together. It makes it much easier for you then. And here's an example of having Google My Business tagged up. We can see how many conversions we've had. This is an example from the Jelly Bean site. We can see that there was 14 conversions in that time scale from Google My Business. We had 126 visitors, and on average they stayed on the site for 2.5 minutes. So we know that Google My Business as a channel has value to us because it drives conversions. If we hadn't tagged it up, we wouldn't have known what value this was driving to us. So we can make the informed decision now to know that we need to keep our Google My Business profile updated. We can push blogs through it, we can add products to it and keep pushing those through, so we know that it's worth the effort to do that because there is a conversion value in it for us. So nice and easy, and getting the tagging and the tracking set up correctly from the start makes everything else we're going to go through 10 times easier, because you'll be able to see the value of it from all these other elements. So when we look at goals in e-commerce, this helps us to actually track the value of our traffic, because it's wonderful saying we've got thousands of people coming to the website, but if only 2 of those 1,000 visitors are converting, it's really not the right traffic that we're bringing. So it's critical for us to consistently understand what value we're bringing. With event tracking and goal tracking, we can monitor clicks, we can monitor purchases. E-commerce allows us to monitor revenue, or you are able to attribute a value to a goal or an event track too. So say that all your leads have the same value, you can add a value to it. You can track downloads, you can track when people contact you, form fills, and you can even go as linear as cart abandonment. And I'm going to run through how to quickly do some of those. So to set up a goal, when you're in analytics, you need to go to the admin, which is the cog in the bottom left, and then it will all be under goals, which is on the right hand side in the 3rd column. You do need to have edit settings on the Google Analytics profile to be able to do this, so make sure you've got that set up first. A destination goal is one of the most common and the easiest to set up, to be honest. So this is where you have a specific landing page that you want to monitor when people hit that page. So the best example of using this is a thank you page following somebody filling in a contact form or a brochure download, for instance. And what that will mean is that anytime somebody hits /thank you, it will track it as a goal has been completed, and it will attribute that goal to whichever marketing channel or referral website that came from. So you're able to see the value that those websites brought to you. Really simple to set up, in that you pop in at the top on the destination and the box there, you pop in what URL is that you want to monitor. And say, for instance, there's a few pages you have to surpass to get to that final URL. So say it's an order completed page. If you're an e-commerce website, you could then include as a funnel every other step of the checkout to see how many people are dropping off at that point throughout the checkout process. So it will trigger as a goal completion when somebody hits the order complete page, but then when you look at the goal funnels report, it will show you actually then how many people came to the basket, how many then went to shipping details, billing details. So it gives you an idea of the dropout you're seeing on your checkout, so that if that is high, you know that there's some work to be done on maybe smoothing out that process for people. Duration goals are really good if you have videos or anything that's on the landing page that requires somebody to be on there for a while. So because you can't always see, if you embed a video on the website, how many people have watched it, if you set a duration goal for the length of the video, then if somebody has been on that page for that amount of time, it will trigger for you, so you can get an idea of how many people are actually interacting with the videos you have on your website. The pages for slash screens per session is probably the most underused out of all the goals. And you can just set this up so that if somebody's been on 4 pages of the website, it triggers as a goal for them. The use cases we've seen most commonly for this is if it takes somebody a certain amount of clicks to get to a particular trigger on the site. So say they have a brochure download and it's not on the home page, you have to kind of go through a couple of pages to get to it. Or when someone has a particularly long cart and say it's a 5-page cart, they might set this up to see how many people kind of go through the entire process. And finally, events allow you to monitor a really specific action that's happened on the website. So it could be one button being clicked on a landing page. It could be a newsletter sign up. It could be a brochure download. These are things where it doesn't necessarily have a landing page associated with it, or an end landing page, like a thank you page, but you want to monitor what people are doing. It does require you to put some code on the site. So you may need to get your developers involved to help you set up event tracking. And what you need to do is within this code, you specify an event category, which tends to be what was it somebody interacted with. So was it a button? Was it a video? Was it a form? The action is what somebody did. So it could be downloaded, played. The label is usually, we tend to put like what name of the campaign is. So it could be, I don't know, Black Friday price list, for instance. And those all go within the code that wraps around the element that you're tracking on the website. So whether it's a button, for instance, it would wrap around the button. And then within Google Analytics, when you do the goal setup, so again, you'd go to admin goal and you'd select event. Whatever you've put as the category, you'd then type that word where it says category equals to. Again, capitalization matters. So just make sure that you're replicating whatever the code is on the site. And then once you save that, it will begin to track from then whenever somebody hits that button or that element that you have the code wrapped on. Again, I've just popped a link in to the Google Dev site that just breaks this down a little bit more and kind of gives those step-by-step guides of how to do it. If you are more au fait with code and you feel a bit more comfortable in setting elements like this up, then I recommend you look at using Google Tag Manager instead of purely Google Analytics for your event setup, because you're able to create more events than the 20 that you have as a standard in analytics, but it doesn't require you needing developer time to do it. It's something that you can do all by yourself then. And again, on the Google Dev site, there's lots of guides and walkthroughs about how to get Tag Manager set up and set up your triggers and your event tracking within there too. You can follow that. So with e-commerce tracking, a lot of people always forget to turn it on and to actually implement it on their e-commerce sites because it's not turned on as a standard. So if you have a WordPress WooCommerce website, your tracking for your revenue isn't automatically set up to pull into Google Analytics. So WooCommerce have a free plugin, which is simply called WooCommerce Google Analytics. And you can download that and add that onto the site. And you pop your analytics code in and tick the buttons to turn it on, and then it will start to interact with your Google Analytics account and make sure that your revenue, product performance, quantity of sales, returns, all of those elements are tracked into your Google Analytics account. If you have Shopify, they also allow you to do it through their admin. So you go into the preferences section and make sure that you pop your analytics code within there, and then that will connect your Shopify account to Google Analytics. If you do have a custom build website, then it may require some additional coding to get those in, but I know that WooCommerce and Shopify are the most common kind of off-the-shelf platforms for e-commerce websites. And also, don't just stop there. Make sure you actually turn e-commerce on in Google Analytics. You'll be surprised at the amount of people that forget to turn e-commerce on. So it's under admin, e-commerce settings, and then just make sure that at least the top label is switched on, and it will all start tracking then, so you'll be able to see what you're doing. So if we go into analytics now to actually see the data that e-commerce settings allow us to have, it opens up a whole new section of Google Analytics that before wouldn't have been populated for you. So the conversion section on the left-hand side, if you hit that and then hit e-commerce underneath, you have product performance, sales performance, transactions, and time to purchase under there. The product performance tab will show you exactly which products have sold on the website. It will break down the revenue each product's made for you, the quantity that's sold, the average quantity. But what I like to do is add on a secondary dimension of either source or medium, whichever's your preference. And then you can say, well, actually, how many Phoenixes in a 10 to 12 has Google Ads sold for me? How many has organic sold for me? And it just again puts that additional value on each of your traffic sources as to what they are realistically bringing to you and the ROI they're generating for you. So adding that secondary dimension just gives you a whole new layer of data to work with. So you can see what they're driving and which products. Time to purchase is a nice report to look at every now and then, because it gives you an idea of how many people are purchasing the first time they hit your website. So in this example, 86% of people are purchasing the day they land on the website. But that does mean that 14% of people aren't purchasing on the first day, they're purchasing on a timescale afterwards. So it can help you to kind of devise that strategy of whether you should consider retargeting as a method for your business, which could be run through Google Ads. It could be run through social advertising as well. So in this instance, we'd say, yeah, like we're losing nearly 15% of sales. They're not happening on the first day. We definitely need to make sure that we're constantly hitting these people after they've been on the website and bringing them back to buy from us. So again, this is under the e-commerce section within Google Analytics, and the report will consistently update in there for you. Our multi-channel funnel. So this is where everything gets pulled together and it shows you how a channel has assisted a conversion. What part did it play? Because when we look at the analytics of all our separate tools that we use, so Google Ads, for instance, Google Ads will work on a first click conversion window, meaning that if the click on the advert was the first click, then it will claim it as its sale. Facebook tends to work on first click as well, but Google Analytics as a standard works on last click. So it will give the credit for the sale to whichever channel or whichever source, medium, referral site was the final click before the sale happened. So because everything reports a little bit differently, using the multi-channel funnel report just helps to open that information out a little bit more and show you where in the journey each click happened on each source or medium, so you can attribute the value correctly of them. So again, it's just under conversions, multi-channel reports, and then we'll start with the assisted conversions report within there. So this will show us, it's showing us on here that Google Organic assisted in 7 conversions in this date range, but it was responsible for 44 conversions solely. So actually the reality is Google Organic played a part in quick maths in 51 conversions for us, whereas Google My Business played a part in 26 conversions for us. So the value that's there is a little more than what it's perceived. You particularly want to look at your paid channels for this. So Google cost per click here, it directly had 3 transactions, but actually assisted with another 3. So it's actually got double the value to us than the perceived top level report gives us. So it's really important to just look into that when you're working on your budgeting, because it can help you to see where the additional value lies. If you look at the conversion pass report, which again is under that multi-channel section within analytics, this literally breaks down the entire path somebody took before they converted with you. And a conversion could be a product sale, or it can also be one of the goals that you've got set up. So for Jelly Bean, for example, our conversions are when somebody fills in our form on our website to contact us. So it's a lead conversion. So this breaks down and shows us that actually Google cost per click here was in the middle of 2 of our conversions. So it wouldn't have got the attribution either in Google Ads or within analytics. So as far as you're aware from a top level perspective, Google Ads had no part in those conversions, whereas realistically, those 2 conversions may not have happened without Google Ads being there. So it's important to just break down and see which of your channels drives the most for you, and also which of those ones are kind of getting hidden in the longer conversion paths that people are having. And again, the most important thing is it just helps you to make those really informed budgeting decisions for your paid channels. Segmentation. So this is just making it really simple for you to view specific parts of data. There's already a number that have been pre-created within Google Analytics. They have a segment for organic direct, paid traffic, mobile, desktop, people who've converted in the past. So there's lots already predefined in there that you can add on to any report within Google Analytics. But you're also able to create your own, and you can be so specific in them. So say if you wanted to see, I only want to see organic traffic that was female between the ages of 25 to 34. You can create a segment that will allow you to see that, and it will change the data view that you have to only give the information that matches that specific segment you've made. So I find that this is really useful if you have campaigns that are hitting different audiences, if you have products that are very specific to different audiences, or if you're thinking about launching something new. It can give you an idea of how that really specific market is interacting with your site already, and just give you that extra information so that you can make the best decisions possible. Segments are really easy to add once you've made them. You have this add segment button on every single report within Analytics. So you just hit that and choose the segment that you want and add it in, and it will just completely change the data in front of you to only be relevant to that segment. Yes, you can add it to anything. Custom reports. So now we've pulled together and we've got our trackings correct, so we can see what everything is actually bringing to us. We've got e-commerce set up, we've got goals set up, we've got all our lead tracking set up. We know what our conversions and what our sources are doing from a multi-channel approach. And we've also got segments set up so that we can just view really specific data. We can put all of this together now and build reports out that only have the data that we care about within them. So you can just view exactly what's important to you, and it just cuts out the noise, cuts out the data that you don't care about, and just gives you what you need. You can create multiple custom reports as well. There's no, there's no key limit on the amount that you can have. So we tend to have a custom report of data that we like to see. We create custom reports for our clients as well of data that's really important to them. And in some instances, we then have additional custom reports that's for the board level. That's just that top line of what they really want to see. It's under customization in Analytics and in the top left panel. So you've got dashboards and custom reports under there. Dashboards are viewed within Analytics, whereas custom reports you can set up and have them scheduled to ping out to whoever you want and kind of get them emailed out. They're only available on your login. So if you do want somebody else to see your dashboard or custom report when they log into Analytics, you need to share it with them. So you can just see next where it says add widget, there's a share option. If you hit that, you can pop the email address in of who you want to share it with, and then it can be added to their Analytics view. And the beauty of actually sharing them is, if you wanted to, you could share it and add it to a different Analytics profile you have access to. So once you've made one dashboard or report, if that's something that you wanted to replicate across other Analytics accounts, you can, just by sharing it, so you don't need to rebuild exactly the same all the time. The creation of them is widget based as well. It's super easy to do in that you pick what kind of layout you want. So do you want a map, a pie chart, a bar graph? You pick the data that you want to display. You can add secondary filters onto it. You can pick your segment that you want to show from it. And then from that, it creates the widgets for you. And with every report, you can change your date ranges and you can add comparison dates on as well. So once it's made, you can kind of keep going through manipulating the data for the specific timescale you're looking at. And with them, you can schedule them up to be emailed. So if it's something like a daily view and it's showing you performance from yesterday, for example, you could schedule that up to send it to you every morning, so you can see what was yesterday's performance. and it saves you having to log in all the time and go through multiple reports and analytics to get those little snippets of information that you want. If you're a bit braver and you've got a good grasp, but you also want to bring in data from the likes of Search Console and Google Ads, and also you might have some SEO tools that you use that you want to bring in data from, try out Data Studio. So Data Studio is like the next level of an analytics report because it plugs into multiple different data sources for you and allows you to pull in from so many different places. And again, you can manipulate the data, but it's also widget based. So once you've set it up, that it's saved there for you, you can copy the templates that you've made, but it just means that if you wanted one chart that showed data from ads and you wanted another chart that showed your biggest referral sources from analytics, you can do that. So it's a really nice way to do it. And again, you can share a Data Studio report with anybody that you want to have access to it, and you can give them view only access or edit access, and you can manipulate the dates on it to whatever date range you want. So it's a really nice way of having that view that doesn't need to be top level. It can be really, really ingrained and detailed on what you say. So yeah, you cut through the noise and just see what's really important to you when making those reports. So I know we like to do a little breakout session in these, which I'll hand back over to do that now.
Yeah, okay. So if anybody's got any initial questions for Laura, by all means, just pop them in the chat box now, or if anyone wants to come off mute and ask anything, by all means do. Clear as mud, Laura, clear as mud. That's fantastic. We've got breakout rooms. So what we've got is an opportunity for 10 minutes. Now, what did you want them to discuss, Laura?
I think it would be good for everybody to just talk through actually what data is important to you, because that's the first step into getting your segments or getting your reports created, knowing what you actually want to track.
Yeah. Okay, so if everyone's up for that, and then once you've had that discussion, you'll get a notice to say that there's only a minute left. We'll come back to the group, and obviously if you've got questions for Laura or Chris, by all means bring them up after that. Okay, so I'm going to press the magic button so that you can all disappear into the room. Any queries? You can come back out. Hopefully you're having a note to say you're going into a room. Now, I think, Parveen, are you okay? Have you not gone in a room?
Hi, yeah, sorry, I've just joined, so I don't know.
Oh, have I not put you in a room? Let me then, hang on. let me now work out how I put you in a room. Let me see. Dun, dun, dun.
You have more Zoom knowledge than I ever will.
Yeah, I've got everybody in the room. So how do I now? Haha, I've got it. Right. I'll send you in a room. Goodbye. Sign to. It's like going in space. There we go. Let's see. Oh, and Jacob. What have I done with you? Oh, and Fran's come out. Are you okay, Fran? Let me just check.
I'm still here.
Are you still here, Fran? Did you go through cyberspace and come back again?
I think so. I think there was only a couple of people in the breakout room. So I thought maybe I was in the wrong one.
Yeah, no, they're only in 2s and 3s.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They're only in small groups, if that's all right. So we have to click back in.
How do I do that?
Let me just try you again. Let me just try. Oh, it won't let you back in that group. Oh, that was a good group that you've got there, actually. Hang on a moment. I'll try you somewhere else. Hopefully you've had that come up. Yeah. And Jacob. Right, let me see if I can get you in, Jacob. Did you want to go in, Jacob? Oh, he's gone. Okay. And Laura. Oh, have I sent you? Oh. Are you okay, Jacob? Welcome back. I hope everyone found that bit of time useful. Does anybody want to put in the chat box what they achieved from that, or some positive outcomes, or questions for Laura or Chris? Laura, what did you get from your group?
Just that sometimes we don't always think of what our end goals are when we start, and actually, you know, thinking of what our end goals are with a campaign and what data is important to us can actually help to shape the campaign that we're running, which is something we can all take.
Great. Okay. Great comment. Let's have a look. Jackie, we realise as marketeers how much we love data, but that not everyone understands it or know what to do with it.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. And I suppose it's how it's presented.
Yeah, and I think sometimes that's why having different reports for different stakeholders can be really valuable.
Fantastic. Beverly discussed that we're trying to understand the value of traffic from each of the social media sources that we're using. It's not all about volume, it's about the value. Yeah, and the type of data we need has changed in response to the ongoing pandemic. Thanks, Tom. That's a really good point. Okay. Anybody else got any questions for Laura or Chris? So sorry, Chantal, really good chat with Chris about how Google Analytics can benefit a trade-only website, tracking where customers abandon orders. Oh, a new tool called Hotjar. Chris, can you share that with the rest of the group in a couple of minutes?
Well, all as I can say is it's not as dirty as it sounds. It is actually a useful tool just to help give people on site, well, on page, understanding of user behavior a little bit more in depth.
Yeah, it's really cool. It physically records people's journey on the website and how they move their mouse, how they scroll down a page. So you can sit and watch a video of exactly what somebody did on your website. So it's really good for seeing where you've got kind of roadblocks and holes in that journey for a user and where you might be losing them. So we've used it loads on e-commerce sites, haven't we, Chris? And it's really cool for particularly like checkout process to see where that's going wrong or is a bit too long for people.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. Okay. Any final questions? No, good stuff. Well, just as a final note, which is a little bit different to what Laura and Chris have been talking about, but from a recruitment point of view, lockdown, should I say, we used to run monthly interviewer technique workshops, which we are going to be re-looking at to do obviously online. And one of the key messages that I always had was about the company brand when going through the recruitment process. Because what we found is that a number of candidates will apply for jobs and never hear back from your company. So all the work and investment you do as a marketing team or expertise to heighten the brand and get yourselves out there can be completely ruined by the recruitment process. So the amount of times we've had candidates who've sent a CV to a company and they never hear back from that company, or they don't hear back for a month, or they go on interview and don't get feedback after an interview. And they do tell all their friends about it. So I often say to recruiting line managers, HR professionals, feedback is really, really important, but very important for your brand. And even if somebody isn't right for your business, the professionalism that you show them, that they can go down to the pub, to their friends, wherever it might be, and say they've had a really positive experience, is really important. We actually do some work with a PR agency, and we were recruiting for a 50k account director's position. The first 5 candidates that I headhunted had had an experience with that agency over the years where they hadn't had feedback. And one of the candidates had had an interview 10 years beforehand, and they said, I will never work for that company. So it's just a little recruitment tip to keep your eye on your recruitment teams and colleagues and making sure they're getting back to people and not ruining all the hard work that you've done. Okay. So Laura, the next session next week, series 2.
Yes,
Just
and
want to explain what you'll be covering.
yeah, next week we're going to talk about Google Ads, and it's changed. It's always blooming changing. So we're going to talk about the new innovations that are there, things that have changed, particularly in regards to it being so much more automated now by Google. And then we're going to give you a few bits of advice on just how to be really efficient with your budget based on the new changes that have happened. So yeah, so that's what we're going to cover next week. And then following that, we've got social the week after and social advertising. And then the final week is going to be around kind of building your brand and storytelling with your brand. And we'll have a real life case study, well, actually ours, to kind of share with you through that and show how we've done it for ourselves at that point. So yeah, there's loads coming up, and hopefully you've all got enough to take away from today and to go and action some bits. But if you do have any questions, then of course you can drop myself or Chris an email, and my email is laura@jellybeanagency.co.uk, and Chris's is chris@jellybeanagency.co.uk. And if you would like us to just do a half hour with you to talk through your site or anything you're struggling with, then definitely drop Chris an email and we'll pop something in the calendar for you and we'll see how we can help.
Fantastic. Okay, thank you, Laura. As we see this is quite a good networking event as well, what we'll do is send out a link to this video when we've got that edited, the slides, but also everyone's names. So if you don't want to be included in that list for any reason, just get in touch with me or Leanne. But if not, we'll do that because I think it's good as a network for people to be in touch and meeting each other anyway and sharing ideas. And yes, Jackie will send the invite over for next week as well. We'll make sure that everybody's got it and by all means share it. Okay, any final questions? Right on time. Okay, thanks everyone. Good to see you all.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Thank you.